Before I begin, be sure to like the video and leave a comment on what you think of it. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to keep up with further audiobook readings. Chapter 10. I Shall Never Want. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalms 23:1. The 23rd Psalm is the best known of all the Psalms. We might say that it is the keynote to the message of the Bible. It tells man he shall never want when he has the realization or conviction that the Lord is his shepherd. The realization that infinite intelligence supplies every need. If you get this conviction today, every need will be met now and forevermore. You will draw instantly from the abundance of the spheres whatever you desire or require, for what you need is already on your pathway. A woman suddenly had the realization, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall never want. She seemed to be touching her invisible supply. She felt outside of time and space. She no longer relied on the external. Her first demonstration was a small but necessary one. She needed at once some large paper clips, but had no time to go to the stationer's to buy them. In looking for something else, she opened a little used chest, and in it, she found about a dozen large paper clips. She felt that the law was working and gave thanks. Then some needed money appeared. Things large and small came her way. Since then, she has relied upon the statement, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall never want." We used to hear people say, "I don't think it is right to ask God for money or things." They did not realize that this creative principle is within each man. True spirituality is proving God as your supply daily, not just once in a while. Jesus Christ knew this law, for whatever he desired or required appeared immediately on his pathway. The loaves and fishes and money from the fish's mouth. With this realization, all hoarding and saving would disappear. This does not mean that you should not have a bank account and investments, but it does mean that you should not depend upon them. For if you had a loss in one direction, you would have a gain in another. Always your barns would be full and your cup flow over. Now, how does one make this contract with his invisible supply? By taking a statement of truth which clicks and gives him realization. This is not open to a chosen few. Whosoever calleth on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. The Lord is your shepherd and my shepherd and everybody's shepherd. God is the supreme intelligence devoted to supplying man's need. The explanation is that man is God in action. Jesus Christ said, "I and the Father are one." We might paraphrase the statement and say, I and the great creative principle of the universe are one and the same. Man only lacks when he loses his contract with this creative principle, which must be fully trusted, for it is pure intelligence and knows the way of fulfillment. The reasoning mind and personal will cause a short circuit. Trust in me, and I will bring it to pass. Most people are filled with apprehension and dread when there is nothing to cling to on the external. A woman came to a practitioner and said, "I'm only a poor little woman with no one but God back of me." The practitioner said, "You need not worry if you have God back of you, for all that the kingdom affords is yours." A woman called me on the phone and said, almost in tears, "I'm so worried about the business situation." I replied, The situation with God remains the same. The Lord is your shepherd, you shall not want. If one door shuts, another door opens. A very successful businessman who conducts all affairs on truth methods said, "The trouble with most people is that they get to relying on certain conditions. They haven't enough imagination to go forward, to open new channels. Nearly every big success is built upon a failure." I was told that Edgar Bergen lost his part in a Broadway production because they did not want any more dummies. Noel Coward got him on the Rudy Valley radio hour, and he and Charlie McCarthy became famous overnight. I told the story at one of my meetings of a man who was so poor and discouraged that he ended it all. A few days later came a letter notifying him that he had inherited a large fortune. A man in the meeting said, "That means when you want to be dead, your demonstration is 3 days off." Yes, do not be fooled by the darkness before the dawn. It is a good thing to see the dawn once in a while, to convince you how unfailing it is. It reminds me of an experience of several years ago. I had a friend who lived in Brooklyn near Prospect Park. She liked to do unusual things and said to me, "Come to visit me and we'll get up early and see the sunrise in Prospect Park." At first I refused, and then came the hunch that it would be an interesting experience. It was in the summer. We got up about 4 o'clock, my friend, her little daughter, and myself. It was pitch dark, but we sallied forth down the street to the entrance of the park. Some policemen eyed us curiously, but my friend said to them with dignity, "We are going to see the sunrise," and it seemed to satisfy them. We walked through the park to the beautiful rose garden. A faint pink streak appeared in the east. Then suddenly we heard a most tremendous uproar. We were near the zoo and all the animals were greeting the dawn. The lions and tigers roared, the hyenas laughed, there were shrieks and howls. Every animal had something to say, for a new day was at hand. It was indeed most inspiring. The light slanted through the trees. Everything had an unearthly aspect. Then, as it grew lighter, our shadows were in front instead of behind us. The dawn of a new day. This is the wonderful dawn which comes to each one of us after some darkness. Your dawn of success, happiness, and abundance is sure to come. Every day is important, for we read in the wonderful Sanskrit poem, "Look well, therefore, to this day, such is the salutation of the dawn. This day the Lord is your shepherd. This day you shall not want, as you and this great creative principle are one and the same." The 34th Psalm is also a psalm of security. It starts with a blessing for the Lord. "I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. They that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing." Seeking the Lord means that man must make the first move. "Draw near to me, and I will draw near to thee, saith the Lord." You seek the Lord by making your affirmations, expecting and preparing for your good. If you ask for success and prepare for failure, you will receive the thing you have prepared for. I tell in my book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, of a man who asked me to speak the word that all his debts be wiped out. After the treatment, he said, "Now I'm thinking what I'll say to the people when I haven't the money to pay them." A treatment won't help you if you haven't faith in it, for faith and expectancy impresses the subconscious mind with the picture of fulfillment. In the 23rd Psalm we read, He restoreth my soul. Your soul is your subconscious mind and must be restored with the right ideas. Whatever you feel deeply is impressed upon the subconscious and manifests in your affairs. If you are convinced that you are a failure, you will be a failure until you impress the subconscious with the conviction you are a success. This is done by making an affirmation which clicks. A friend in a meeting said that I had given her the statement as she was leaving the room, "The ground you are on is harvest ground." Things with her had been very dull, but this statement clicked. Harvest ground rang in her ears. Good things immediately commenced to come to her, and happy surprises. The reason it is necessary to make an affirmation is because repetition impresses the subconscious. You cannot control your thoughts at first, but you can control your words. And Jesus Christ said, "By your words you are justified, and by your words you are condemned." Every day choose the right words, the right thoughts. The imaging faculty is the creative faculty. Out of the imaginations of the heart come the issues of life. We have all a bank we can draw upon, the bank of the imagination. Let us imagine ourselves rich, well, and happy. Imagine all our affairs are in divine order, but leave the way of fulfillment to infinite intelligence. He has weapons ye know not of. He has channels which will surprise you. One of the most important passages in the 23rd Psalm is, "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies." This means that even in the presence of the enemy situation, brought on by your doubts, fears, or resentments, a way out is prepared for you. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall never want." Chapter 11. Look with wonder. I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember thy wonders of old. Psalm 77:11. The words wonder and wonderful are used many times in the Bible. In the dictionary, the word wonder is defined as a cause for surprise, astonishment, a miracle, a marvel. Ouspensky, in his book Tertium Organum, calls the fourth dimensional world the world of the wondrous. He has figured out mathematically that there is a realm where all conditions are perfect. Jesus Christ calls it the kingdom. We might say, "Seek ye first the world of the wondrous, and all things shall be added unto you." It can only be reached through a state of consciousness. Jesus Christ said, "To enter the kingdom, we must become as a little child." Children are continually in a state of joy and wonder. The future holds promises of mysterious good. Anything can happen overnight. Robert Louis Stevenson, in A Child's Garden of Verses, says, "The world is so full of a number of things. I'm sure we should all be as happy as kings." So let us look with wonder at that which is before us. That statement was given to me a number of years ago. I mention it in my book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. I had missed an opportunity and felt that I should have been more awake to my good. The next day, I took the statement early in the morning. I look with wonder at that which is before me. At noon, the phone rang, and the proposition was put to me again. This time, I grasped it. I did indeed look with wonder, for I had never expected the opportunity to come to me again. A friend in one of my meetings said the other day that this statement had brought her wonderful results. It fills the consciousness with happy expectancy. Children are filled with happy expectancy until they are grown-up people, and unhappy experiences bring them out of the world of the wondrous. Let us look back and remember some of the gloomy ideas which were given us. Eat the speckled apples first. Don't expect too much, then you won't be disappointed. You can't have everything in this life. Childhood is your happiest life. No one knows what the future will bring. What a start in life. These are some of the impressions I picked up in early childhood. At the age of 6, I had a great sense of responsibility. Instead of looking with wonder at that which was before me, I looked with fear and suspicion. I feel much younger now than I did when I was 6. I have an early photograph taken about that time, grasping a flower, but with a careworn and hopeless expression. I had left the world of the wondrous behind me. I was now living in the world of realities, as my elders told me, and it was far from wondrous. It is a great privilege for children to live in this age when they are taught truth from their birth. Even if they are not taught actual metaphysics, the ethers are filled with joyous expectancy. You may become a Shirley Temple or a Freddie Bartholomew or a great pianist at the age of 6 and go on a concert tour. We are all now back in the world of the wondrous, where anything can happen overnight, for when miracles do come, they come quickly. So let us become miracle conscious and prepare for miracles, expect miracles, and we are then inviting them into our lives. Maybe you need a financial miracle. There is a supply for every demand. Through active faith, the word and intuition, we release this invisible supply. I will give an example. One of my students found herself almost without funds. She needed $1,000, and she had plenty of money at one time and beautiful possessions, but had nothing left but an ermine wrap. No fur dealer would give her much for it. I spoke the word that it would be sold to the right person for the right price, or that the supply would come in some other way. It was necessary that the money manifested once. It was no time to worry or reason. She was on the street making her affirmations. It was a stormy day. She said to herself, "I'm going to show active faith in my invisible supply by taking a taxi cab." It was a very strong hunch. As she got out of the taxi at her destination, a woman stood waiting to get in. It was an old friend, a very, very kind friend. It was the first time in her life she had ever taken a taxi, but her Rolls Royce was out of commission that afternoon. They talked, and my friend told her about the ermine wrap. "Why," her friend said, "I will give you $1,000 for it." And that afternoon, she had the check. God's ways are ingenious. His methods are sure. A student wrote me the other day that she was using that statement, God's ways are ingenious, his methods are sure. A series of unexpected contacts brought about a situation she had been desiring. She looked with wonder at the working of the law. Our demonstrations usually come within a split second. All is timed with amazing accuracy in divine mind. My student left the taxi just as her friend stopped to enter. A second later, she would have hailed another taxi. Man's part is to be wide awake to his leads and hunches, for on the magic path of intuition is all that he desires or requires. In Moulton's Modern Reader's Bible, the Book of Psalms is recognized as the perfection of lyric poetry. The musical meditation, which is the essence of lyrics, can find no higher field than the devout spirit which at once raises itself to the service of God and overflows on the various sides of active and contemplative life. The Psalms are also human documents, and I have selected the 77th Psalm because it gives the picture of a man in despair, but as he contemplates the wonders of God, faith and assurance are restored to him. I cried unto God with my voice, even unto God with my voice, and he gave ear unto me. In the day of my trouble I sought the Lord, my soul refused to be comforted. Will the Lord cast off forever, and will he be favorable no more? Hath God forgotten to be gracious? Hath he in anger shut up his tender mercies? And I said, This is my infirmity, but I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. I will meditate also of all thy work, and talk of thy doings. Thy way, O God, is in the sanctuary. Who is so great a God as our God? Thou art the God that doest wonders. Thou hast with thine arm redeemed thy people. This is a picture of what the average truth student goes through when confronted with a problem. He is assailed by thoughts of doubt, fear, and despair. Then some statement of truth will flash into his consciousness. God's ways are ingenious. His methods are sure. He remembers other difficulties which have been overcome. His confidence in God returns. He thinks, what God has done before, he will do for me and more. I was talking to a friend not long ago who said, I would be pretty dumb if I didn't believe God could solve my problem. So many times before, wonderful things have come to me. I know they will come again. So the summing up of the 77th Psalm is, what God has done before, he now does for me and more. It is a good thing to say when you think of your past success, happiness, or wealth. All loss comes from your own vain imaginings. Fear of loss crept into your consciousness. You carried burdens and fought battles. You reasoned instead of sticking to the magic path of intuition. But in the twinkling of an eye, all will be restored to you, for as they say in the East, what Allah has given cannot be diminished. Now to go back to the child's state of consciousness, you should be filled with wonder, but be careful not to live in your past childhood. I know people who can only think about their happy childhood days. They remember what they wore. No skies have since been so blue, or grass so green. They therefore miss the opportunities of the wonderful now. I will tell an amusing story of a friend who lived in a town where she was very young, then moved away to another city. She always looked back to the house they first lived in. To her it was an enchanted palace, large, spacious, and glamorous. Many years after, when she had grown up, she had an opportunity of visiting this house. She was disillusioned. She found it small, stuffy, and ugly. Her idea of beauty had entirely changed, for in the front yard was an iron dog. If you went back to your past, it would not be the same. So in this friend's family, they called living in the past iron dogging. Her sister told me a story of some iron dogging she had done. When she was about 16, she met abroad a very dashing and romantic young man, an artist. This romance didn't last long, but she talked about it a lot to the man she afterwards married. Years rolled by. The dashing and romantic young man had become a well-known artist and came to this country to have an exhibition of his pictures. My friend was filled with excitement and hunted him up to renew their friendship. She went to his exhibition, and in walked a portly businessman. No trace was left of the dashing romantic youth. When she told her husband, all he said was, "Iron dogging." Remember, now is the appointed time. Today is the day, and your good can happen overnight. Look with wonder at that which is before you. We are filled with divine expectancy. I will restore to you the years which the locusts have eaten. Now let each one think of the good which seems so difficult to attain. It may be health, wealth, happiness, or perfect self-expression. Do not think how your good can be accomplished. Just give thanks that you have already received on the invisible plane. Therefore, the steps leading up to it are secured also. Be wide awake to your intuitive leads, and suddenly you find yourself in your promised land. I look with wonder at that which is before me. Chapter 12. Catch up with your good. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. Catch up with your good. This is a new way of saying, before they call, I will answer. Your good precedes you. It gets there before you do. But how do you catch up with your good? For you must have ears that hear and eyes that see, or it will escape you. Some people never catch up with their good in life. They will say, "My life has always been one of hardship. No good luck ever comes to me." They are the people who have been asleep to their opportunities, or through laziness haven't caught up with their good. A woman told the group of friends that she had not eaten for 3 days. They dashed about asking people to give her work, but she refused it. She explained that she never got up until 12 o'clock. She liked to lie in bed and read magazines. She just wanted people to support her while she read Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. We must be careful not to slip into lazy states of mind. Take the affirmation, I am wide awake to my good. I never miss a trick. Most people are only half awake to their good. A student said to me, if I don't follow my hunches, I always get into a jam. I will tell the story of a woman, one of my students, who followed her intuitive leads, which brought amazing results. She had been asked to visit friends in a nearby town. She had very little money. When she arrived at her destination, she found the house locked up. They had gone away. She was filled with despair, then commenced to pray. She said, "Infinite intelligence, give me a definite lead. Let me know just what to do." The name of a certain hotel flashed into her consciousness. It persisted. The name seemed to stand out in big letters. She had just enough money to get back to New York and the hotel. As she was about to enter, an old friend suddenly appeared, who greeted her warmly and whom she hadn't seen in years. She explained that she was living at the hotel, but was going away for several months, and added, "Why don't you live in my suite while I am away? It won't cost you a cent." My friend accepted gratefully and looked with amazement on the working of spiritual law. She had caught up with her good by following intuition. All going forward comes from desire. Science today is going back to Lamarck and his wishing theory. He claims that birds do not fly because they have wings, but they have wings because they wanted to fly. The result of the push of the emotional wish. Think of the irresistible power of thought with clear vision. Many people are in a fog most of the time. making wrong decisions and going the wrong way. During the Christmas rush, my maid said to a saleswoman at one of the big shops, "I suppose this is your busiest day." She replied, "Oh no, the day after Christmas is our busiest day, when people bring most of the things back." Hundreds of people choosing the wrong gifts because they were not listening to their intuitive leads. No matter what you are doing, ask for guidance. It saves time and energy and often a lifetime of misery. All suffering comes from the violation of intuition. Unless intuition builds the house, they labor in vain who built it. Get the habit of hunching, then you will always be on the magic path. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Working with spiritual law, we are bringing to pass that which already is. In the universal mind, it is there as an idea, but is crystallized on the external by a sincere desire. The idea of a bird was a perfect picture in divine mind. The fish caught the idea and wished themselves into birds. Are your desires bringing you wings? We should all be bringing some seemingly impossible thing to pass. One of my affirmations is, "The unexpected happens. My seemingly impossible good now comes to pass." Do not magnify obstacles, magnify the Lord. That means magnify God's power. The average person will dwell on all the obstacles and hindrances which are there to prevent his good coming to pass. You combine with what you notice. So if you give obstacles and hindrances your undivided attention, they grow worse and worse. Give God your undivided attention. Keep saying silently, in the face of obstacles, God's ways are ingenious. His methods are sure. God's power is invincible, though invisible. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. In demonstrating our good, we must look away from adverse appearances. Judge not by appearances. Get some statement which will give you a feeling of assurance. The long arm of God reaches out over people and conditions, controlling the situation and protecting my interests. I was asked to speak the word for a man who was to have a business interview with a seemingly unscrupulous person. I used the statement, and rightness and justice came out of the situation at just the exact time I was speaking. We have all heard the quotation from Proverbs, "Hope deferred maketh the heart grow sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life." In desiring sincerely, without anxiety, we are catching up with the thing desired, and the desire becomes crystallized on the external. I will give to you the righteous desire of your heart. Selfish desires, desires which harm others, always return to harm the sender. The righteous desire might be called an echo from the infinite. It is already a perfect idea in divine mind. All inventors catch up with the ideas of the articles they invent. I say in my book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, the telephone was seeking Bell. Often two people discover the same inventions at the same time. They have tuned in with the same idea. The most important thing in life is to bring the divine plan to pass. Just as the picture of the oak is in the acorn, the divine design of your life is in your superconscious mind, and you must work out the perfect pattern in your affairs. You will then lead a magic life, for in the divine design, all conditions are permanently perfect. People defy the divine design when they are asleep to their good. Perhaps the woman who liked to lie in bed most of the day and read magazines should be writing for magazines, but her habits of laziness dulled all desire to go forward. The fishes who desired wings were alert and alive. They did not spend their days on the bed of the ocean, reading Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. Awake, thou that sleepeth, and catch up with your good. Call on me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. I now catch up with my good, for before I called, I was answered.